All right, welcome out, sports fans, once again to the Gridiron 64 podcast. This will be episode number 4, part 3, previewing week 4 of the Gridiron 64 schedule. And I got my full crew in full effect. I've got the coach, knows it all, 24 hours a day. He's focused, making his picks. He did
Oh my
really
God.
good this week or this past week on his picks. Coach Steve Cantu. Coach, how you doing today?
Hey, blessed, brother. Happy to be here.
And then, of course, we got the Z-Man. He's been with me since day one. Everybody that follows the Gridiron and the Parts Coach should know the Z-Man by now. Johnny Zavala. Johnny, how you doing?
Doing good.
And then we've got the big man, Mr. Tony Pena. Big T, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Can't wait to get it going.
All right. So, like I said, guys, we're going to preview week number 4 on the Gridiron schedule. We got some good games for you. We got a state game. And then, of course, we got a game of the week. So I've already looked at the schedule. The guys have looked at the schedule. So we're ready to get our picks going. I'm going to pass it over to Tony. He's going to lead us this evening. Go ahead, Big T.
All right, I'm gonna leave the game of the week for the end before the state game. So I'm gonna go with the second game first. So the first game we're gonna preview is gonna be the Ingleside Mustangs against Gonzales. I want to see what Johnny has to say about this game, and who do you got?
I'm gonna go with Ingleside on this. I think they've been pretty explosive offense, and I think they're going to continue with their explosive offense. So I'm gonna go with Ingleside on this just because their offense, how they're going right now.
All right, okay. Steve, who do you got? Did Johnny sway your vote, or are you going Gonzales? Who do you got?
You know what, man? My primos called me from the other day. They used the neighbor's cell phone because they don't have a home phone. They called me and they told me that they were promised that they would get back on stride and would play harder this week. Ingleside, gosh, I love those guys down there. They're playing really hard. But they're going to have to prove it to me one more time this week. They're going to have to really make me a believer that first game.
All right, I don't know. We'll get back to Steve in a little bit on his pick. Gabe, who do you got, Gabe?
Well, I'll tell you, Ingleside was impressive in their win. They got a big win over Rams's Pass. And I said, if these guys, wanted to be considered, because I think Ingleside's good. And I think they're going to be good for the next couple of years. We've talked about their underclassmen, how well they've done. So they've got some talent coming up. But I said against the Rams's Pass, these guys needed to win big. Rockport won big. If they wanted to be considered a top dog in the district, and hey, you better watch out for Ingleside, they need to get a big win, and they did. But now they're going to play a Gonzales team that's 1-2. But those 2 losses that Gonzales has, it's against El Campo, where they scored a couple of touchdowns on them. And then, of course, they lost to Fredericksburg, and that's another good team. So their 2 losses have come from 2 good teams. So, I mean, the record's 1-2. But I'm with Johnny. I think, I think Ingleside's coming around. I think their offense, their defense is good. To me, early on in this season, I like their defense. Their defense has been good for the last couple of years. It was good last year, the year before, and it seems like they're still good now. They're going to play a good Gonzales team that can score some points. My question for Ingleside is, can the offense score on Gonzales' defense? I don't know. That's why we've got to sit here and take the pick. But I think it's going to be a good game. Johnny, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Ingleside. This was a tough one for me because I was leaning toward Gonzales on Monday, and then today too. I looked at it again, and I say when I got off work, I said, man, I think I'm gonna go Gonzales. But we've had Coach Hamrick here. He's talked about his offense. I think he's got all his players, no COVID issues that I know of, and he's got all his coaches back. So I'm going to take a swing with Ingleside. They've got to beat Gonzales to be able to compete in our district. So I'm gonna go with Ingleside and hope that they can beat Gonzales this week.
All right. Okay, so we got two for Ingleside. Steve, back to you. Who do you got on this?
Hey, I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna ride with Gonzales, buddy. I really do think they, although the record doesn't show it, they're playing hard. They scored 34 points against El Campo. So, we all know what El Campo did this past weekend. So I think they, and Ingleside's got to prove it for me. I mean, honestly, are they week 1 team? Or are they week 2 team? So we're going to wait and see. I'm going to ride with Gonzales this weekend.
I think I'm gonna go with Steve. I think that even though Ingleside is coming in 3-0, they really don't have a notable win. I think they should have beaten Mathis by more points. I said they were going to beat Mathis by more points. I know we talked to the coach and they had some issues with some staff and some players. And then they come back and they really put a whip into Aranza's pass. But I don't know if Aranza's pass is the game that's going to sway me to vote for them. I'm going to say this. I'm pulling for Ingleside because that's one of our district player teams, and there are in our area. I'm pulling for them to win, but I'm going to pick Gonzales Friday night against over Ingleside. So
let me ask you.
Hey,
let me ask you this question, Tony. Who did Ingleside beat last week?
Nobody.
They've got 3 wins. Oh, they had a bye, so they're 2-0. Are they 2-0 or 3-0? They're 2-0, right?
2-0? Okay.
Yeah.
2-0.
So they got wins
Okay,
over Mathis. They got it. Yeah. So they got wins over Mathis and Aranza's pass. This is a big test for them, guys. I mean, like I said, Gonzales. Like Steve said, they lost to El Campo, but scored a lot of points on El Campo. They lost to Fredericksburg. So their 2 losses have been two good teams, Fredericksburg and El Campo in week 1 and week 3. But to me, and I think Ingleside knows that. I think Gonzales is going to be a tough team, but I think it's going to measure. Coach Hammer's going to be able to tell where his team is at. Listen, playing a Gonzales team is like playing a Rockport Fulton. It's like playing Sinton, maybe Rio Hondo. So I want to see where Ingleside's going to fall, how well they can compete, because it's going to tell me a lot once they get in the district. And like I said, I think they got a good defense. It's really going to come down to their offense. Can they score points on that Gonzales defense? If they can do that, then they got a good chance to win. If they can't do that, it's going to be a long night for the Mustangs. But I'm going to stick with Ingleside.
Okay, all right. So we got a split 2 versus 2 on that game. So let's go on to our next game. We got the CC Vets versus Victoria East. CC Vets are 3-0, and Victoria East is 2-1. I'm going to go to you first, Steve. Who do you got?
Man, again, let's see. I think let me see who I wrote down here. So, man, I don't know. I think this is going to be a pretty good game. I like Victoria East the way they're playing right now. But I mean, CC Vets, right? I mean, they're playing well. Man, it's gonna be. I'm gonna take CC Vets on this one, bro. I think they score a ton of points. Victoria East, they got a really good program down there. They're playing really hard. They're scoring points, but I don't know if they can keep up with CC Vets. So I'm gonna ride with the Vets.
All right. Johnny, what about you, Johnny? Who do you got?
I think this is going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a very tight game. The Vets, I don't believe, is going to run away with this. So by that, I'm going to pick the Vets. I think the East completely had turned around this year. But I don't see the Vets really blowing out the East. This is going to be I think it's going to be an explosive game. I think it'll be something like Vets 42, the East 35 game.
So you're only giving them a touchdown. All right.
What's
Gabriel,
that?
who do you got, Gabriel? I said you're only giving them a touchdown. Okay.
What's Victoria East? What's their record? Anybody know?
2-1. 2-1.
Who did they lose to?
Have it up right here. Oh shoot. They lost to Columbia, West Columbia.
West Columbia. That was in week 1, right?
Yeah.
And then they got
41-32.
41. And then they beat what 2 teams did they beat?
They beat
They
Carroll.
beat Alice 35-16 and Carroll 60-21.
All right. So Alice has been struggling. They're 0-3, right? They've kind of fallen from week one. We had high hopes. They played Victoria. They played Veterans Memorial really good in week one, and then week 2 and 3 they've just fallen. I mean, they've regressed instead of made progress, right? So you look at Victoria East, and then we look at Vets. Vets kind of struggled with Alice in week one. They barely got the win down there, but it's really tough to beat Alice and Alice. But every week since then, Vets has really looked good. In other words, they've gotten better every week. Week 1, week 2, week 3. That offense is starting to click a little bit. They got a great quarterback. They got the Del Pena, I think, is a receiver, which is really good. They got some other receivers. Their defense is pretty strong, but that offense has been scoring a lot of points. I don't think that Victoria East is going to be able to slow them down. I see they're going to win this 2+ touchdowns. I don't think it's going to be as close as maybe some of us think. So I'm going to go with Vets, just based on week after week. This offense just seems to be, getting into a rhythm, and they just seem to be playing and playing better ball every week. So I don't think it's going to stop much this week when they play Victoria East. So I'm going Vets all the way.
I think I'm gonna go with Veterans Memorial as well. I mean, I saw some highlights of Victoria East, and they got some big players over there. I mean, that running back over there is doing really good. They can throw the ball as well. You know what I mean? But I'm with you. I don't think the game is gonna be as close as Johnny says. I think even Miller is a better team than Victoria East, and Veterans Memorial scored a lot of points on them. So I'm gonna go with Victoria. I mean, Veterans Memorial big in this one.
My thing is, like, the reason why I got this game real close is I think y'all kind of underestimated the East. They handled Alice a lot easier than the Vets did. I think it was like a 35-14 game. Then their only losses against Columbia, which Columbia's undefeated already, 3-0. And Columbia's been putting up some points against Worlton, 56-6, and Sweeney 63-21. So they lost against a very high-powered offense from Columbia. So that's why I think this game's going to be pretty tight, not too high, mid-score, 42-35.
And you know what?
Hey,
and
listen. Go ahead.
And that's true. But one thing that swayed me is they played a really good Miller offense, right? I mean, the way that Miller runs that offense with Justin. I know that quarterback is only a sophomore, but Vets really beat down Miller. I mean, Miller didn't have an answer for him. I mean, and they were rolling, and that's what I think about Vets. When Vets roll, they're rolling. And I said this from the very beginning. This team, they had a new coach. He was a coordinator, so he had already been under the system. It's not like they brought a coach in and started on new. He was a coordinator, and when the head coach left, they just made the coordinator the head coach. So he'd been already under that system. He knew some of these players. They've got some talent down there. It may be close, but to me, I think Vets is going to win 2 more. When that offense is rolling, it's hard to stop them. And they've got a defense. It's not like you can score easily on Vets. I mean, and they got some smart football players. I really don't know a lot about Victoria East. I mean, every year they're competitive. One of the Victoria schools is always better than the other. But I just think Vets, the way I've seen them, they've been playing good every week. So, this may be a week that they struggle. I don't know, but we haven't seen that. We've just seen them progressively get better. So I think they'll win by 2 or more. But Johnny could be right. This could be a close one. I mean, Victoria East, they can score some points too. So it's going to be a good one.
Hey, well, let me jump in here since we're all trying to sway votes. All right, we're trying to persuade each other from their picks. All right, Victoria East, okay, super well balanced team. They put up almost 500 yards total offense against the Z-Man's Carroll team, 256. They had 3 picks that night by 3 different guys. So what that tells me is that they got great defenders all over the field, and they can play some defense, and they can put up points. Their quarterback, Jaden Williams, went 218 yards with 4 touchdown passes. I mean, they're playing ball down there, man. I mean, Tony, you really ought to reconsider.
Hey, Tony, don't let them sway. Let me tell you why. I ain't seen – listen, this is what it comes down to. I ain't seen Victoria East win no district titles yet. I mean, we can talk all we want about how good they are and how balanced they are. They ain't won no district titles. Last time I checked, Betts has been the team to beat. Why would you change that, T? I mean, it's
But
up to
Hey,
you,
everybody's going
man.
back to
Hey, listen,
Carroll.
huh?
hey,
Everybody's moving back to
if I could
Carroll.
backtrack, Steve did pick Veterans Memorial, right?
Yes, he did.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Hey, listen,
Hey,
listen, guys.
no,
Victoria East
look,
is no joke.
Veterans Memorial. Go ahead.
Hey,
Hey,
but you know
listen,
what? This is the reason why I'm fighting so hard for Victoria. Because last week I told you guys I did nothing for Victoria. I didn't look into the East, West. I think I even gave stats for the wrong team. So I told myself this week, boy, I'm gonna put together a really good board for the guys so they can make a really good decision. So there you guys have it. You got the facts. They're split them down the middle team, great on defense. But yeah, I'm still going with Betts.
yeah, no, Victoria East is no joke. I mean, like I said, they lost 2 games, but they were against 2 very good teams. That who knows where can Betts beat El Campo? Can Betts beat Fredericksburg? I mean, I don't know. They didn't play him right, but it's going to be a good one. Where's the game going to be played? Is it going to be played in Corpus or Victoria?
Tony, you tell me they're playing in Victoria. I'll switch my pick.
All
If it's in
right.
Victoria,
They are playing. They're playing in Corpus.
I'm sticking with Betts.
Oh, well, I'm staying with Betts.
All right.
Hey, but one of the things about Veterans Memorial that I see year after year after year is doesn't matter what the beginning of the season looks like. You know, if they struggle here and the game there, they always seem to progressively get better, and then they really get better. It's not like they get a little better every week; they get a lot better every week. So, you know, once these new guys that just moved up start to click with the guys who were there last year, they're going to be a tough team to beat. So I don't see Veterans Memorial getting tested this year until they play Flower Bluff. So I still think that it's going to be a big win for Veterans Memorial by a lot.
Woo, some people in
So all
Victoria
this talk
aren't
about
liking. Hey, those people from Victoria, they're not liking the Gridiron 64 too much right now.
all right, so now next game we got the Battle of the Bridge, the famous Battle of the Bridge. We got the Carroll Tigers versus the GP Wildcats. The Carrolls are 0-3, and GP after their big win over Moody last week, they're 1-2. Johnny, who do you got?
You know, this game used to be huge at one time. These teams were both competitive, playing for the district titles, both, you know, in different division, 4A and 5A. It's just the hype's not there anymore. That's the sad thing about it. They both had their big downward fall, you know, over the last few years. I was hoping Carroll would have a better year this year. They started off. I was kind of pulling for them. I was rooting for them. I started rooting for them last year for when they won their first game, like in, I don't know, I think it was like 30 something games or so. I just don't see. I don't think they have it together yet. I'm not too strongly picking GP for this one. But for Carroll to give up 50 points a game, I know, and give it up, they have played some tough teams that sit in your vets, you know, the East. I mean, I just don't see them slowing down GP, but I don't think GP is going to really run all over them. I'm going to go with GP on this one on a very low scoring game.
Okay. All right. So before I go to you, Steve, like Johnny said, Carroll has played some tough teams. I mean, they're 0-3, but I mean they played Sinton, they played Victoria East, who we just talked about, and then a tough Eagle Pass team. So they didn't lose to teams that are not doing good. And then you got GP. You know, they play Cal Allen. They got that big win over Moody. We all picked GP to win that game. Moody comes in, GP goes in there and beats Moody, and we all picked Moody. So, I feel stunned that they did that. So, and we talk about it not being a lot of hype. I believe they have their own trophy between the two schools that they fight for. I believe that's what they do there. And even though they're not two high power teams, they want to beat each other so bad that it's gonna be a good game. It's gonna be a game you got to watch because they're gonna be really physical with each other, and each of them really wants to win that game. And I think the coaches will instill that in the kids, and I'm pretty sure the kids know. I can't. They probably can't wait to play the Battle of the Bridge, whether it's at home or whether it's away. So, having said that, Steve, who do you got?
Well, I tell you what, man, I'm gonna show some love, man, to my guys over there in red and blue this week. I got a buddy lives in GP, and he called me with this 56-7 win, and he was they were ready. They're state champs, crown them right now. But they played well. I looked at their tape. They got a big guy down there, David Carroll. He had 13 receptions for 271 yards with 3 touchdowns last week. That's a big target. All right. They had a total of 550 yards, 192 passing with 358 rushing. Their rushing attack seems to come from about 4 or 5 guys. They're doing it collectively as a team. The quarterback, Brandon Redden, he's doing his thing down there and distributing the ball. I'm going to ride with GP on this one. The Z-Man's Carroll team just didn't do it for me no more, and I will not pick them for the rest of the year. I'm going to ride with GP.
All right, Gabe, who do you got?
Well, I think GPs, you haven't arrived yet, but they're definitely getting there. They got a new coach, and Coach Davis. He's got them, and I heard before the offseason that he was really working this team out, and they were working really hard in the offseason. And I said that GP could slide in before the season started as the fourth team to make the playoffs in their district. Because you're going to have GPs in that 5A Division 1. And so you have Flower Bluff and Betts, and they're going to take 1 and 2. So they're at least 3 and 4. You got the 2 Victoria schools, the 2 Victoria East going to take one of them. But that 4th slot, it's open because you're competing with the Victoria East school. Then you got Carroll, Moody, Ray, King. I think these are all teams that GP could beat. And so I when I looked at it, I said, man, if GP gets going after they lost to Calhoun, but they scored some points, I thought, hey, GP could slide in there as the 4th place team. Getting this big win over Moody was big for GP. This is a program that's been struggling for years now. They got a new coach. And you remember they lost to Calhoun and came in week 1. Listen, who wants to play Calhoun in week 1? Hell, who wants to play Calhoun in week 10? Really, not too many teams around this area. But they kind of compete a little bit with them. Not much, but, they showed something. And then they got to play Bernie just right off the bat. Bernie's another good team pretty much in the playoffs every year. And they lost to them. Then they come in week 3 and they kick the crap out of the Moody Trojans, right? Which I thought Moody was decent. So I think GP's arrived. They're on a high after this win. I think those guys are pumped. I think they're going to come into Carroll, and I think they're going to beat Carroll. I don't think it's going to be a close game. So I'm going with the GP Wildcats. I think they're going to win big against Carroll.
Yeah, I'm with y'all. I was just really impressed with the win that they had against Moody. Again, just like Carroll, they played some really tough teams to start the season off, and that's why they're 0-3. But GP has played some tough opponents as well. And I said this after week 1. I said, man, you scored 19 points on Cal Allen. That's winning to me. You know what I'm saying? You go in there and score 19 points, and then come back and score 28 points the following week against a Burning team that you're not even prepared for. They prepared for Los Fresnos, and that game got canceled, and they picked up the Bernie game, and not even prepared for what they were going into, and still scoring 28 points on a good ball club. So and then last week beating Moody big, I really and with you on that. I think GP, if they keep playing like the way they did Friday and play tough against the tougher opponents like Hal Allen and Bernie, I think they do slip into the playoffs this year. This might be the year they slip in the playoffs. So, I think if they keep putting in work and hitting it hard on Friday nights, I think that they can and will slip into the playoffs this year. I'm going to go with GP on this one, and I think it's going to be a big win for them. So we'll see. Carroll just really, hasn't impressed me. And like Johnny, I wanted them to do good too, but you know, I think GP got this one big.
Hey, Tony, I'll just add this. Now, I'm rooting for the Carroll Tigers. Back in the 80s and early 90s, man, Carroll was a powerhouse. I remember Taft, my cousin, used to go to school out there. Boy, they had the Wagner boys. They had Tiandre Sanders. They had Coach Slaughter down there. I mean, around this area back in those days, you didn't want to play the Carroll Tigers. They were tough, man. They were going to whip everybody in the Coastal Bend area. So I think they'd meet up with Converse Judson down there, and they could never get past Judson. Judson was a powerhouse back then. But I remember those 80s and 90s, the Carroll Tigers, and they were a powerhouse back then. Nobody wanted to play them. So, even though I have to pick GP because, realistically, that's who I think is going to win this game. I'm rooting for them Carroll Tigers. I love Carroll. I loved them in the 80s and 90s, and I hope that they can get back to that winning tradition. I think they got the right coach down there. It's going to take some time, but I'm definitely rooting for those Mary Carroll Tigers. From the heart, man, I love that team. I used to root for them back in the 80s and the 90s. So hope they can get back to that winning tradition. But for this game, I just realistically, I just think GP is going to on a roll. I think they're going to beat them on Friday.
I'm rooting. I'm gonna stay with the team on the same side of the bridge as us. So I'm gonna go with GP. All right. So for our next game, we have Calhoun Sandcrabs versus Rudder. I'm gonna go ahead and go to you first, Gabriel. Who do you got on this game?
I don't know much about Rudder at all. Try to find some stuff on them from Bryan, Texas. Those teams usually are pretty decent. So I'm not really sure. Calhoun and El Campo, they battled, and I think it could have gone either way. I think El Campo was able to pull away toward the end, but I was keeping track of that game from the first quarter, second quarter, and third quarter, and they were going back and forth, which tells me Calhoun's got a really good football team. El Campo does too. A team had to lose, and it was El Campo, but I don't think that loss to me that Calhoun had against El Campo really defines, who Calhoun is. It didn't sway me that this team wouldn't be a playoff team, and maybe when I think they're going to be second in their district. I don't think Calhoun can beat Cal Allen, but it didn't sway me. That loss didn't sway me one way or the other that they would go down. I think they're still going to sit at the second seed in district. Of course, they had a big win over a good Navarro Panther team in week one. We talked about Navarro and what they did last year and how many players were coming back. And Calhoun really didn't have no problems with them. So even though I don't know a lot about Bryan, maybe I should have done a little bit a deeper research on him. I'm still going to go with Calhoun. I think they can get back on the winning streak. I still like I said, the loss to El Campo didn't sway me one way or the other that this team isn't going to be good. So I'm going to go ahead and go with them. I like their running attack. Listen, this is what Calhoun does. We're going to run the ball down your throat. There's no secrets. You can watch our video. If you can stop us, you win. But if you can't stop us, we're going to win. So I'm going Calhoun over Rudder this week.
Okay. Well, before I go to you, Steve, I did do a little bit of research on Rudder. So what I got. Rudder is 3-0 against 0-3 teams right now. Everybody they played, if you look at week after 3 weeks, they're all 0-3. So they're coming to a game, looks like they're undefeated against 3 teams that are 0-3. So having said that, who do you got, Steve?
I'll tell you what, man. Regardless of records, them boys play down there for pride, man. Their opponents are 0-3, but they didn't make them. It wasn't their choice. You know what I'm saying? They're putting up points, man. Those guys are averaging somewhere around 40 some odd points. They scored 50 twice. Their 3 wins came against Elgin. Gosh, I just had it.
Bastrop, Elgin,
and America's El Paso.
Yeah.
And okay, the records don't reflect a good team, but you just line up and you play what's in front of you, and it seems like they're getting it done. They're scoring enough points, and Calhoun. We know what Calhoun's done. They hit some bumps in the road, but them boys are fighting. They're putting up some great numbers down there as well. Man, this is a tough one for me right here. Gosh, man, my heart wants to take my gambling heart wants to take take Rudder, but man, I don't know. I'm falling so far behind, man. And people are starting to laugh at my picks now. You know, I see my buddies walking around town, and they're like, "Man, you're terrible at picking. We love your commentating, but you're terrible at picking games." Shoot, I'm gonna go with Calhoun, man, just because I don't wanna be the butt of nobody's joke no more, and I gotta start making a move, so I might as well do it now. So, Calhoun.
All right, all right. I think that's a good choice. Z-Man, who do you got?
Yeah,
Take Rudder.
on paper, it looked good. 3-0 against 3-0. And
Too
I
much.
too saw this, Tony. I was all like, well, if they're undefeated, I already know who Calhoun has played. If Rudder's undefeated, let's see who they played against. And you are correct. They played against teams that have an overall record of 0-9. I just don't see that. I just don't see Rudder coming to play Calhoun and beating Calhoun just by the teams that we were just talking about, the competitive that other teams play against. We're comparing that. And to me, I'm comparing Calhoun, who they played, with Rudder, who they played. And I'm easily going to go with Calhoun on this. And I was trying to pull it up, but I can't. My internet's down. Hopefully I can come up with it here. But I think Calhoun's going to blow this game away. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game for Calhoun. And I'm giving Calhoun 400 yards plus rushing. Easily.
All right. So I'm gonna also go with Calhoun just because, like I said, I looked into who they played, who Rudder played it, and when I first saw a Bryan team, I was like, oh wow, they're gonna play a Bryan team that's 3-0, and I started looking into it, and I was like, I don't know, the teams that they play, they don't look impressive. I started looking into their state rankings, doesn't look impressive, and like you said, we know who Calhoun has played. You know what I mean? They had a really close loss to El Campo, who's highly ranked. You know what I mean? They beat Navarro, who we know very well. So it was an easy one for me after looking at the facts, and then we talked about the two new backs that Calhoun has this year after graduating two backs last year. I mean, I'm with Johnny. I think Calhoun wins this one big, and they represent the coastal bend area in a big way versus Bryan Rudder.
Hey, there's no doubt that them boys are pounding the ball down there, man. They had a kid, Esteban Cruz, with 23 carries last week, 113 yards, 1 touchdown. The other big guys, Aaron Martinez, 18 carries for 56 yards with 2 touchdowns. So, I mean, they have another guy that ran for 78 yards. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, yeah, you talk about a run and attack. Those guys are stacked down there.
Yeah. All right. So this is Gabriel's team. I know they have a place in his heart. Our next game, Beeville Trojans versus Somerset. I'm gonna go ahead and go to you first, Gabriel, because you talk about Sosa and Beeville so much. I'm interested to see who you're gonna pick. Beeville right now is 1-2, and Somerset is 3-0.
Yeah, the one win that Beeville had was against Pearsall, which the head coach there was our offensive coordinator a few years ago here in Rockport, Coach Polka. He's a head man out there in Pearsall, and I kind of stay close watching what Pearsall's doing out there. When Coach Polka was here, he was the offensive coordinator here, the line coach. He coached my son, so I have high regards for Coach Polka, and I wanted to see him succeed. They played up against Beeville this week, and Beeville beat them 50, I think, something or 50-0. So, they played a team in Pearsall that's pretty much struggling, I think, this year. Beeville has 2 losses, one to Flower Bluff, which I don't know what you can read into that. Flower Bluff, I think, is really, really good this year. And so, now you come in with Somerset. Somerset is undefeated. They've beaten 3 San Antonio teams from that area. I think McCullum, and I don't know who else they beat. Nothing, but
Southside and Breckenridge.
And Breckenridge. So, how good, I know when we played Somerset back in the day, there was good competition between Rockport and Somerset. They took a lot of those games from us. a few years back. So we know what they can do. They got a team out there. As much as I want to see Beeville succeed, I don't think they're going to win this game this week. I know they're coming off a 50-plus win against Pearsall, but that's a team I think that's struggling this year in their district. So I don't know if that win against Pearsall said anything. It's a good win for Beeville, but I think when they play Somerset, I hope they're competitive. But I got to make a pick tonight. I got to go with Somerset over Beeville, and that kind of pains me. But on this podcast, I said, I'm not going to go with my heart. I'm going to go with what I see and what I read, do the research. And I just think Somerset coming out 3-0, I think they're going to beat Beeville. Good win for the Beeville Trojans. This will tell me a lot, though, if they can win this game or if they can, at least be competitive. It'll tell me a lot. But until this game is played, I think I got to go with Somerset to go 4-0, and I think Beeville will lose. But again, I'm hoping Beeville can get that win, man. I said at the beginning of the season that I think Beeville had an opportunity to get in as the fourth place seed. It's like we talk about Portland, that fourth place playoff team, could be between Alice and Beeville. And even though we talked about Alice looking good at the beginning, they're not looking so good right now. So Beeville can get it going with another win. You never know when we get in the district. It could be Beeville. You'll get into that fourth slot, but yeah, until I see something better, I'm going to go with Somerset.
All right. So before I go to you, Johnny, I just want a little bit of history. So last year, these two teams faced each other in week 2. Last year, Beeville gets the win, 34-13. And remember, Beeville struggled last year as well, but they still found a way to beat Somerset last year, 34-13. So again, we talk about Beeville's record, but they played some really tough teams in Flower Bluff and Victoria East. So, having said that, who do you got, Johnny?
That was a good point about how they struggled last year, how they started, and this could be a good turnaround for them.
They scored 70 points late in the season against Miller, and Miller was hot last year. Remember that game, 77 or something like that? High scoring game last year.
Johnny, let me say this before you make your pick. They scored a lot of points, right? And that offense looked great, and I love Beeville. But they also gave up a lot of points, Johnny. They still lost the game. So if you score, if you score 65, that's great, man. You look good. But your defense gave up 70+ points. That don't look good. So not trying to sway you, but because I love the Beeville Trojans, you know that. But hey, man, that defense was awful last year for the Beeville Trojans.
Hey, Miller got to the 4th round just outscoring teams because teams were scoring 50 on them as well, but they were outscoring teams, and that's how they got as far as they did, by outscoring the other team. They weren't trying to keep the other team from scoring. They were just trying to score more points, and they did, and it was successful for them. And Beeville almost played the same game they did and almost beat them late in the season last year on a year that they struggled when Miller was hot.
Hey, Johnny, just remember this. Coach Evans has a guy by the name of Andrew Body. Sosa didn't have an Andrew Body, man. I mean, look at it this way. Hey, look at it this way. The defense, Johnny loves defense. Johnny's a defensive guy. And when the defense gives up a lot of points, Johnny really don't care too much about the offense, man. That defense is giving up a lot of points. Listen, I'm just telling you, man, I love the Beeville Trojans, Johnny, but, man, they gave up a lot of points last year.
Well, I'm going to go by Johnny. So, Somerset has played these 3 San Antonio teams. Out of those those San Antonio teams combined, they have 4 losses. All 3 teams. 3 of those losses came to Somerset. So 3 of their 4 losses are against Somerset. Other than that, they have a decent record: 2-1, 2-1, 1-2. So I just not on the Beeville fan wagon this year. I'm just gonna go with Somerset.
All right, Steve, you heard everything. You heard all the stats. Who do you got?
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, nobody said the most important stat to me, and that's Beeville gives up 28 points a game. Now Gabriel did say it. He said it about last year. So Beeville giving up, 26 points a game, and Somerset's averaging 24 points a game. So, I mean, just by the numbers, it tells me to ride with Somerset. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna ride with Somerset over Beeville.
Well, all right. I was just trying to sway votes. I'm going with Somerset too. I'm going with Somerset too. Let me tell you why I'm going with Somerset, because one of those wins that they got is against San Antonio Southside. And I don't know if y'all remember San Antonio Southside last year. We played them here week 2 or something like that, the Cardinals. And they went 5-0 in their district, and we lost to them 14-7. I don't know if y'all remember that game. It was in October last year. And they're tough. And then they come down here and they have a game at Cabinets Field against a Brownsville team, and they whip them. They put a whipping on them. They got a quarterback who's committed. They got a defensive guy who's committed to D1 colleges. I mean, San Antonio Southside is not a joke. And Somerset goes in there and beats them. That tells me something about that team. So I'm definitely gonna have to go with Somerset just based off of that. Sorry, I couldn't sway no votes. I tried, Beeville. I tried to get y'all somebody, but I couldn't do it. But it wasn't gonna be me.
Hey, listen, keep your eyes out this week. The guy had a big game last week. Xavier Garay. He had a fumble and 2 picks last week. So he plays middle linebacker for Somerset. Look for him to continue his dominance and have another big game back to back, man. That'd be awesome.
All right. So our next game, we got the TM Warriors versus La Feria. I'm gonna go ahead, since Steve was the last one talking. I'm gonna go ahead and let him be the first one to talk about this game. Who do you got, Tuloso-Midway or La Feria?
I tell you what, man, I really like TM's. Gosh, their defensive attack. You know, I thought they played Rockport well last week. And their defensive scheme was solid. I was on the sidelines, unfortunately, on their sidelines. So I heard a lot of talk from within the huddle. And although those boys were executing on the field defensively, man, I don't know. I don't know. I hate to say anything negative and some improper information to share and stuff like that. So I'm gonna stay away from that. I'm not gonna share the information that I heard on that sideline. But man, I like their plan of attack. They had some great players. They were aggressive, and they were quick to the ball. But man, I don't know. I think maybe there's some discipline issues to the question over there in TM. So I'm not going to be picking TM. Man, La Feria though. Man, good gosh. Hold on a second. Give me 1 second here. I got it written down here, and it told me who to pick.
La Feria is 2-0. TM is 1-2.
Yeah. Man, La Feria plays pretty sloppy ball too, man. They struggle on the defensive side. They got tons of penalties over there too. Good gosh. So I mean, golly, one of these guys got to win here. And shoot, bro. Man. Hey, I tell you what, can you come back to me? I'm gonna go grab my favorite quarter. I'm gonna flip a coin, and I'm gonna figure out which one I'm gonna pick. No, man, I'm just kidding.
I thought you want to hear what Johnny had to say. I was going to go to Johnny next.
No, Tony. See, you do that, Tony, and I believe you're getting some information, man. I think you got to make the pick, right? You got to make the pick, especially when you're first guy up. You don't, because Johnny can sway a vote here and there. Carroll, I mean, I'm not keeping score on him, Carroll, but he can sway your vote from time to time. Man, and you know what? I lied. I'm going to take TM. These other guys just struggle, man. On third down, they were 0-10 on third downs last week. They had 7 total first downs last week, 9 penalties for 90 yards, 21 carries for 77 yards as a team. I can't pick them. I'm going to go with TM.
All right. You heard all the stats, Johnny. Who do you got?
This was a little rough. I gotta admit, I can see why Steve had little problems here. both of them are not very explosive offense. They really don't have an offense. I got this. I just gonna have to go with TM. Just have out of gut feeling. I wouldn't be surprised if Feria pulls this one off. I'm not too. This is like my most uncomfortable pick this week is the TM Feria game, but I'm gonna go with TM on this.
All right. What about you, Gabe? Who do you got?
I'm going Feria, baby. I don't know what these guys are talking about with TM. Listen, all this talk about them playing tough. Rockport beat them. So Rockport should have beat them by 50 plus, and we'll talk more about that tomorrow on the Pirates Cove. They came out to play. Yes, Rockport had penalties and turnovers. We saw Rockport do things offensively that they normally don't do. Yeah, and we'll talk more about that game. So no, TM didn't impress me against the Rockport Pirates. Rockport actually struggled and beat themselves in a lot of ways. Penalties, big run plays were called back. There were some turnovers. It seemed like we weren't focused in that game. We'll talk more about that, like I said, tomorrow on the Pirates Code. But listen, TM didn't impress me at all. They really struggle in throwing the ball. They don't got the deep ball. They can't go deep. At least they didn't go deep against Rockport. So that when they're throwing these little sideline passes, which the defense is right there. And you saw Rockport's defense eat it up. They scored points because Rockport basically, on special teams, they blocked the punt and ran it back. Other than that, they really didn't. There were no threat to the defense whatsoever. So I have a lot of concerns where TM's offense is, for them to score, they've got to run the ball. Now, they've got some big guys down there, but good defenses, average defenses, to know what TM's going to do. So if you're not that good in running, like Rockport has that slot T and stuff, probably going to be able to stop them. Listen, Lafayette's 2-0. They beat a Raymondville. Now, how good is Raymondville? I don't know. Lafayette's undefeated right now in the teams that they play. So I'm going to take Lafayette to beat Tuloso-Midway Friday night. I don't know what you guys talking about TM. I like Lafayette. I think they win Friday.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Gabriel. I saw what he saw. In the preseason predictions, Raymondville was picked number 3 for a playoff spot in our district. So for Lafayette to go down there and beat them, and they beat them 44-26. 44-26. So they didn't barely beat them. I mean, they put a whooping on a team that in the preseason everyone thought was going to be the 3rd seed in our district, in our tough district. So for me, and Tuloso-Midway came in and they made it look close, but I think Gabriel's right. I think there was a lot of things that maybe we didn't execute as well as we could have, or just we didn't score as many points as we should have. We thought Rockport was going to win big. They didn't. 28-6 and to anyone else is a big win, but for the way Rockport plays, that's not a big win for us. So I like Feria just because of what I seen against Raymondville, and then they beat a Donna team who's 1-2 or 1-1, something like that. So I'm gonna go with Feria on this one. Nobody's changing their pick. Y'all are still good with that? All right. We're moving on then. It's too late now.
Stop.
Hey, Tony. Hey, Steve, before you go, and let's just say this, Tony, they're playing in the Valley. They're not playing up here in corporate. They're playing in the Valley. TM's got to travel to Feria.
Okay. Stop. All right. So here's my deal, man. All right. All you guys know that I wear glasses, man. I ain't got my glasses on right now, and I'm looking at, I wrote in pencil. You know what I'm saying? I need to start writing in pen so I can see. So anyway, the team that I just gave stats for was Los Fresnos. You know what I'm saying? They went 0 for 10 on 3rd downs and 7 total first downs and 9 penalties for 90 yards. So I was scouting the wrong team, fellas. I was scouting the wrong team. You're gonna have to forgive me. Golly, I'm gonna switch my pick to the Valley Boys, man. I'm sorry, just based off of that. If y'all allow it,
I'm alone on this one. Yes,
if y'all allow it.
Yes, we're comparing the team against. We're comparing the team playing against Raymondville. Raymondville ain't showing nothing this year. They beat Grula. They beat Grula 16-13. Wow, Grula's 0-3. They're struggling, and they barely beat a winless team.
It's all right.
Hey, Tony.
We're comparing against Raymondville.
Hey, Tony. Who did TM?
Remember, we weren't sure how Raymondville was going to be.
Ray. They beat Ray. They beat Ray.
What?
They beat Ray.
Here's my argument, and this is the reason why I switched my pick over. Right? I have no stats in front of me that says La Feria is as bad as a team that I just quoted, the Los Fresnos. Right? So I know you know what? I know how undisciplined that team was on the sidelines, TM last week. I sat there and I listened to it, and it was coming from the coaches. It's coming from the players. It didn't sound like they had a good grasp of that team down there. Although they did play kind of scattered ball and they made some plays, and that's what I saw defensively. I can't pick them. My heart didn't want to pick them earlier in the thing. Y'all heard that. So I'm just going to have to go with this other team on the blind because I just feel that strongly about TM and their discipline.
But
the only win that TM has is against Ray, and we have all seen Ray. And then they lost in week 1 to Moody, and Moody just got destroyed by GP, who has struggled over the past few years. So that's the team that they lost to. That's the other loss they have versus other than Rockport. They lost to Moody. So and then they beat Ray. I mean, kind of big, 44-14, but it's Ray.
Here's why I didn't pick TM. I just think offensively, when they play an average team or above, I don't know what that offense can score. I mean, they can't throw the deep ball. I watched that quarterback. He can throw it to the sides, which is going to be easy for the defense. If you play TM, they're not going to throw the deep ball. At least they didn't do that against Rockport. They didn't even attempt one. You can't throw it. That a good defensive coordinator knows what you want to do. They're going to stack that line up and say, listen, just beat us on the run. And if you're average, and remember, La Feria's always got speed. Every time I've seen these guys, they've had speed. They're 2-0. I know Raymondville isn't the team we thought. So that win that La Feria has over Raymondville, they probably should have won anyway because Raymondville.
No, La Feria lost against Raymondville.
No, my thing says here that they won.
They beat them. They're 2-0.
Yeah, that's what I have on my stats. They beat La Feria. I mean, La Feria beat Raymondville. So, but the TM to me, I think defensively, they're okay, and they got some big boys down there. I just don't know where they're going to get the scoring from. I mean, they just struggle really bad offensively without throwing that deep ball and just running. Defenses are going to be able to stop them unless you're an awful defense. If you're an average team, and I think La Feria is an average team that can stop TM. Now, here's the deal that may swing it toward TM a little bit. They're going to be a lot bigger than La Feria. I mean, that size, but La Feria has some speed. We saw what Rockport speed did to TM. I mean, it was our penalties and our turnovers that killed drives, so we didn't play as tough. So I just think La Feria is going to win. I think TM's going to have a hard time this year offensively because they can't throw the ball. And offensively running the ball, they're average. So they're going to struggle against some average, above average teams. So that's why I picked La Feria. But we'll see what happens.
I can't believe we spent this much time talking about TM.
hey, Johnny, so you're going to stay with TM, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Even though their defense is scoring more points than their offense, okay.
That's a recipe. That's a recipe for a great team.
Yeah, okay. If you're the Baltimore Ravens, maybe from the 90s. All right, the next game we got Alice versus Hidalgo. Alice is 0-3. Hidalgo is 2-1. Johnny, I'm gonna go to you first. See if you can sway Steve.
Help me out,
Steve. I'm gonna go with the Coyotes, dude. I'm just gonna go with the Coyotes. They're gonna get their first win this year. They've been fighting, and this is my thing. I have no respect for the Valley team, so this is kind of how my whole thing is going with me.
Wow, Harlingen just beat. Who did they beat? Who did they play? Alice. They just beat Alice. Valley team just beat Alice.
What was it like? 15-10 or something?
14-7, I think. 14-7.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. You're talking about. You say you have no respect for the Valley team, but the Valley team just beat Alice last week. All right. Steve, you heard it. He's going with the Coyotes. He don't have no respect for the Valley. Who do you
Look at me. Look at me, Tony. I'm gonna follow the Z-Man, goddamn. Hey, listen. I think Alice gets off the snide this week, bro. I think 0-3 is as far as they're gonna go before they get their first win, bro. I think it's time. I think it's time for them to pull off a win, man. I think they're playing good ball. I mean, I'm not gonna count the game last week. Obviously, they had their struggles. I need to look into Harlingen. Remember last week, man? See, this is where I put the blame back on my glasses again. Last week, I had a total different team. Remember, I was running off stats from a different team, not Harlingen from the Valley. Anyway, I think the Coyotes pull this one off, man. I know that 0-3 is not sitting with those guys well, and I know they're going to fight hard for this win. So I'm a ride with Johnny.
All right. So before I go to Gabe, just want to let you know that Hidalgo beat Valley View 45-0, and then lost by 1 against Orange Grove, and we know how good Orange Grove is, 35-36. All right.
I know how good we thought they were.
Well, I mean, we're talking about playing against Sinton. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to play Sinton, especially at home. So we knew how that game was going to go, but we know how good Orange Grove's supposed to be. So they lose that game by 1, and then in week 3 they win 27-7 versus Rio Grande City. So before I go to Gabe, I'm gonna give you the opportunity. You guys still got 0-3 Alice over 2-1 Hidalgo.
Hey,
All right,
listen,
Gabe.
man. I'm a ride with them, bro. I'm telling you, I was deep on them. I was saying their name, praising their names for 3 weeks, and I was wrong 3 weeks in a row. But God damn it, every man's got to get lucky. Every dog has his day, man. And I think the Coyotes, baby, Coyotes this week.
All right, Gabe. Who do you got, Gabe?
Well, let's break this thing down. Let's go to Alice first. They lost to a good Vets team, in week 1, and they played Vets tough, and we've seen what Vets has been doing here lately. So in week 1, they're probably not as strong as they are in week 4, but they were a good team. They had a lot of great quarterback, and now we're seeing that offense was getting going. They were really good. So they lost to a Vets team. That's one of their losses. I think they lost to Harlingen with 14-7. Now this last week's loss to Alice, it really surprised me. I thought Alice could win that game, only scoring 7 points. It kind of worried me a little bit. And who was the second? I can't remember. I just had it in week 2. Who did they lose to? Victoria East, right? So if you look at Alice, the first 2 weeks, I'm looking, okay, you played a really good Vets team and close, and then you played Victoria East. So these are 2 good teams. These are teams that are going to be in the playoffs for sure. Victoria East, I think, will make it, and Vets will probably win the district or second place. So those are 2 teams. I don't know how good Harlingen South is. I was a little concerned with Alice's offense only scoring 7 points last week. So it looks like every week they've regressed a little bit. So I don't know what to expect from Alice in week 4. Hidalgo, 2-1. They've gotten better over the years. I mean, these guys get in the playoffs. They make some noise in the playoffs. Orange Grove's got a really good quarterback. I said with Cutter Stewart, he's probably a top 3 quarterback in the Coastal Bend area. I mean, he's really good, and he's still got another year left. So, losing to 1 point tells me Hidalgo. I mean, they gave up 30-something points, but they also scored 30-something points. Now, how good is that Orange Grove defense? We've talked about they got a tackling machine down there at linebacker. But Hidalgo is still able to score 30-some points. So very competitive game, which tells me Hidalgo's good. Are they going to be good enough to beat Alice? I don't know. My gut tells me that Hidalgo is the better team in week 4, not necessarily throughout the season, but right now with Alice struggling 0-3. The question here is, like Steve was saying, and Johnny, I think Alice is pissed. I really do. I know Coach Atwood doesn't like sitting 0-3. These guys need to get a win. And they need to get a win before they get in district play. And this they've got to win this game. They've got to win this game. They can't lose this game. And even though I think Hidalgo right now is the better team in week 4, I'm going to go with the Alice Coyotes because I believe they're going to get the win. These guys are hungry. They've got to get a win, Tony. If they go 0-4 in this game, 0-4 going into district, it's over for them. They need to get, even if it's a 1-point win, but they got to get a win. Get some confidence back in that program and those teams going into district. If they go 0-4, I don't think they make the playoffs in a really tough district with Calhoun and Miller and of course Calhoun. So they need to get it, even if it's a 1-point win. These guys need to get this win on Friday against Hidalgo to look good, to get some confidence back in that program, because this is a good Alice team. Don't know what really going on down there and why they haven't won a game. I mean, like I said, the first 2 games were really against some tough teams. But even though I think Hidalgo is a better team, like I said, I think Alice is going to come out. They're going to fight hard, and they got to win. And Tony, tell me this before I made my pick. Are they playing in Alice or are they playing in the Valley?
They are playing at home.
No, I'm going with Alice. I'm definitely going with Alice. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I think they got to get a game. And you know how tough they play. And those Coyotes down there, man, they're going to feel those stands. So I got to go with Alice. They need a win.
You know
this
what
Friday.
I think? You know what I think happened to them boys? They probably went down there, super pumped up. I mean, like hungry for that win, right? They're 0-2 going into that park, and maybe a little overconfident. Turnovers got them on this game. Turnovers killed them. They turn over the ball 3 times. They fumble the ball once when they're in scoring position and threw 2 picks. And we all know how hard of a time it was for Rockport and how bad of a win that we had. It looks really, really dirty when you're turning over the ball, right? So, I mean, fortunately, we were able to recover. Coyotes weren't, So turnover bug, you turn it over the ball 3 times, man. That's tough, Hence the score, 14-7. So I don't put too much shade on that. I think Alice comes with it. They put it together this week.
Well, it didn't work. I tried to sway you again. I picked Alice. Also, Hidalgo's 2-1 record doesn't is not enough for me to pick them. Alice has lost to powerhouses. I mean, Victoria East, who's doing well this year, and Veterans Memorial, and I looked into Harlingen. I knew Harlingen been playing some good ball, and I looked at last year. They had a good record last year, made the playoffs. So I strongly felt Harlingen was going to win last week. So having said that, the teams they played against were not teams that they could walk over. So again, they are playing at home, and Alice. I've been there with Rockport and played them at their own house. It's tough. It's tough to beat. It's tough to beat Alice at home. It doesn't matter the kind of season that they're having. It is tough to beat Alice at home because the town shuts down and everyone goes to the game, and it's hard to hear. I mean, it's that team really supports the Coyotes no matter how good of a season they're having. So I think they do really really want that first win real bad. I know I'm pretty sure they know they're going to win in week 5 against Kingsville. So getting this win and winning next week, that gives them a lot of confidence going into district play when they have to face Miller. So I'm gonna go with Alice. I think Alice got this in the bag. All right, so that includes our area. Oh, game of the week. Oh, game of the week. I almost forgot about this. We talked to Coach Castellano yesterday on the Gridiron, and we let him know that Taft is our game of the week this week. That's right. We got the Taft 3-0 Taft Greyhounds versus the Kenedy 3-0. So we thought that this would be a good game of the week. They faced each other last year. Kenedy did come out on top last year, but both of them are playing good ball this year. So going in 3-0 this year. I'm gonna go to Steve first. Steve, who do you got, Steve?
Tony, I noticed you never pick yourself to go first, Tony. It's just something
You
that's
want me to
jumping
go
out.
first? I
No,
got my
no.
my
Don't pick
stuff's
it.
highlighted.
I just know you get the little the little name tag says leading reader, you know what I'm saying, and then there you go, making your own rules up, man. Oh, Gabriel would pass it around, but I'm gonna pick first, and so that you can pick off me because I'm doing so well at this game. I know you guys are stealing on my picks.
No, my stuff's picked ahead of time.
No, so yeah, Kennedy's 3-0. They look really great on paper. They've only gave up 13 points in 3 games. But like you guys said, it's about strength of schedule. And they beat Carn City, they beat Progresso, and they beat Woodsboro, right? And the only one, Carson City was the only one to put up any points against them. They scored the 13 points. So they've got 2 shutouts back to back, but strength of schedule. I come back to that. And we know that Coach JR has got them boys playing well up in Taft. Man, I tell you, when I looked at their film, like I mentioned on the podcast yesterday, those guys hustle just jumps off the screen, man. Those guys are flying around. JJ Acosta, their quarterback down there, is coming off a big game where he threw for 330 yards and 5 touchdowns. So those guys are they're playing inspired ball. And it was such a great interview yesterday because, like I said, I told the coach himself, I said, the team just took on his persona. You know what I'm saying? Those guys are playing hard. He's a hard-nosed guy. You know what I'm saying? They're playing disciplined ball. He's a disciplined guy. So I really do like what Taft has got going on down there this week because, I mean, you remember, Tony, you remember those guys when we played Taft in youth football, how, disorganized and disshuffled they'd always be, it was a rough time for those guys. But it seems like they got it turned around because and what the crazy part is that these are the same kids that we might have been playing down there. But it just took some leadership. And I think, Coach JR is the right man for the job. He's doing a great thing. I'm going with Taft all the way on this one. Plus, I got to go to Taft on Friday, and I don't want no one to find out that I don't want no one to find out that I picked against them. So I'm definitely going with Taft.
They lost 33-13 last year to Kenedy, right?
Yeah, man.
All right. Z-Man, who do you got, Z-Man?
Let me pass. I want to look up a stat real quick.
Oh!
Okay. All right. I'll give you that. Gabriel, who do you got, Gabriel?
Well, first of all, I do want to say, I'll say this toward the end of the podcast. These 2 teams are good. I mean, we go back to last year. Taft was riding the high. They played Kenedy. They lost. Then they played Feria the next week, and they lost. And it just kind of seemed like they fell apart just a little bit against Odom. But this was a team like Coach Castellano came out yesterday. We had him on the Gridiron 64. They go to the second round. And I think Steve makes a very good point in that, he's got that team turned around. I mean, they're playing tough. They're playing tough for him, and I think they're playing with some confidence now. And I know that this group wants to be able to beat Kenedy. I know last year's 33-13 loss that they want to be able to get them back this year. They're going to be playing at home. Taft's got 3 tough games coming up. They've got Kenedy, then they've got Kevinville, and then they've got Odom. It's really going to tell you what this team is made of. Now, before the season started, I thought the Taft, was in contention for the district title against Odom. And I don't know much about Hebbronville. I haven't done a lot of research. I'll do a lot more next week when Taft plays them. But I like what Taft's doing. Not taking anything away from Kenedy. I think it's going to be a tough game for Taft. But I'm going to go with Coach Castellano's Greyhounds. I like Steve said. I mean, I think he's got them playing tough. And he talked about the skill players. They've got a lot of skill players down there that can run the ball. They've got some speed, and so I think it's going to be a good one. But I'll be there in Taft on Friday too. We'll talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing at the end of the podcast. But I got to go with the Greyhounds, man. I love Coach JR. I love what he's doing down there. Just the way, what he's been through in his coaching career. He kind of told a story a little bit about where he was at and how he grew up. I love this guy. I love what he's doing. I wish him much success in Taft. And I think it's going to be a good one, but I'm going with the Greyhounds. I think they can definitely pull it out. And this is going to set up first district game against Hebbronville and then Odom. So they got to get this win. I think they will get it on Friday. Going with the Greyhounds.
Okay, I'll go next.
Are you picking with your heart again? It's not like you're picking with your heart.
I'll go again. So this is what I wanted to look up.
Z-Man, who you got?
What was last year's score again?
33-13 Kenedy.
33-13. Wow. So Kenedy only graduated with 3 seniors. They're coming back with you're talking about Taft coming back with everybody. Kennedy's coming back with everybody. They got their quarterback coming back. This is the same quarterback that scored the 33 points on them. This is a defense that Steve brought up that only gave up 13 points so far this season. the same defense that shut out Woodsboro is something Taft couldn't do against Woodsboro this year. So I'm going to go with Kenedy on this.
Okay. How many points did Woodsboro score on Taft this year?
Okay, it was 7.
On who?
It was 7, but
7
still,
points.
it
Yeah.
wasn't a shutout.
Yeah, I want a shutout. Yeah, no, listen. I think Kennedy's going to be tough, guys, but I think the big difference here is the coach. You know, because before
Coach Kennedy's still there.
Yeah, he is. He is, and they're very, very good. But you know, I've been very impressed, and we don't really cover Kenedy a lot, so I really don't know a lot about Kenedy. Just what I've seen this year. I don't know last year and what they've done in the past. I mean, when you get beat 33-13, and you're coming back with your whole team, most people are going to say, "Hey, they should win the game again." But we've had Coach JR on yesterday, and the way Taft has been playing, and then you look at Kenedy. I think Steve mentioned they beat the 2 teams they beat, or the 3 teams they beat. Haven't really been impressive. Woodsboro and what they said. Did you say Progresso, Steve?
Progresso.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's a strength in schedule, and that says a lot. But Johnny then brings a good point and says, hey, maybe they ain't played the team. It's not Kennedy's fault, right? We play who's on our schedule. But listen, last year, and that's a good stat. You know, I didn't know that. You know, they're bringing everybody back from a 33-13. It's going to be a little uphill battle for Taft. But I love this coaching Taft, man. I think he's got those boys playing tough. We're going to be down there, you know, so I think it's going to be a good one. But, you know, I got to ride with the Greyhounds, man. My family's down there. For me personally, I got a lot of family. I got a little cousin, like Tony's got one, a family member in West Coast. So I got a cousin. He's not little, man. He's a big 6 foot plus, number 64. You'll see him out there. This guy's good, man. He's a big guy. He can move a train, man, if you put it in front of him. So, you know, he's on that offensive line. He's going to be opening up some holes for these skilled players. I got to go with the Greyhounds, man. I'm going to sit there. I got my whole family going to the game. There's no way I can pick up against the Greyhounds, so I'm going Taft.
Yeah, let me tell you how these boys. Let me tell you how these boys are doing it down there. You know, Coach JR said that you know, they're small guys and they didn't have the big oversized line and whatnot, but they made up for it in hustle. And they're spreading it out there. Steven Rivera last week had 8 rushes for 70 yards. As a team, 22 carries, 178 yards. And they're playing great defense down there. They had 3.5 sacks last week. Josh Suarez had a pick 6 last week. So, hey, those guys are playing inspired ball down there. And I think they've circled this game on their calendar because of that loss that they suffered last year, and they're ready. Coach is going to have them, frothing at the mouth for this game. So, hey, watch out for Taft, baby.
Hey, Tony, you haven't picked, right?
I'm not yet.
But before you pick, though, that stat that Johnny said about 33-13 and bringing everybody back, only graduating, that's something to think about, man, because that sets the tone for this game. That means that playoff, that team from Kenedy is coming back with everybody. 1 year later, they're going to be a tough team to beat. So just before you make your pick, I mean, you know, that is a stat that you do have to pay mind to, you know, because, I mean, it's an important stat going into this game.
Hey, all that means because Taft is a young team. We talked about that yesterday. They're juniors and sophomores, very few seniors, right? What does that mean? Hey, the seniors that lost that game are gone. You know, we're playing in the now, Johnny. We're in the now.
Right.
Taft, baby.
Well, one of the things that I want to say.
I want to hear Johnny's response.
So it's just right now.
Say it again, Johnny. Say it again.
You know, Taft was 3-0 going into this game too last year.
Yeah.
And Kenedy was not. Kenedy actually lost in week 1 last year to Skidmore. They lost to Skidmore in week 1 last year, and then they were 2-1, and one of the games they lost to was to Skidmore, and then they go in week 4 and beat Taft. So.
Hey. Yeah, so who do you got, Tony? Who do you got? I mean, come on, man. I mean, who do you got? You got the Greyhounds?
Okay.
Pick them, then. Pick them.
Who you got?
So check it out. We talk about strength of schedule. I mean, Taft played Freer and Woodsboro as well. So we can't say that Kenedy played teams that are not really that great, and Taft did. You know what I'm saying? But Taft did play one game that I do think is a tough team. I think they played Westoso, and Westoso was beating them in that game 28-19 at halftime, and then they come back and win that game. So because of that, I'm gonna pick Taft, because if you want to talk about strength of schedule, neither of them really played anybody worth talking about. But because Taft did play Westoso, and they did come back from behind and win that game, and I think Westoso's better this year than they were last year, and Taft ended up winning that game. So based off of just that game alone, I'm gonna go with Taft. I was trying to get y'all to pick Kenedy, but it seems like I got Johnny to go that way, but couldn't get you, Steve. I thought I was gonna get you. I know you're gonna go down there Friday too, and like you said, you don't want to be the guy who picks
Yeah,
someone
bro.
else. So I understand that.
Yeah.
But no, I'm gonna go with Taft as well, just because, like I said, if you look at the strength of schedule, the only team that sticks out to me is West Oso, and Taft did find a way to beat them, and because of that, I'm gonna go with the Taft this week on the game of the week.
But this is
Johnny,
going
you
to
still
be a
got
good one.
Kenedy?
This is going to be a good one, guys. This is going to be a good one.
Johnny, you gonna jump on the bandwagon, or you gonna stick it with the Lions?
Sticking with the Lions.
All right, baby. All right.
All
I think
right. All
I think I'm
right.
making up 2 games against Johnny this week.
Already.
All right. So now what's up?
No, go ahead.
And that takes us to our last game, our state game of the week. We got the number 9 Cuero Gobblers versus Navarro. Who wants? I'm gonna let y'all pick. Who wants to go first on this one? Everyone want? Oh, okay, Gabe. All right, Gabe. Let's see, who do you got?
I'm going gobble, 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 baby. I'm going with the Cuero Gobblers, man. This year they've been hot. They've already beaten Wimberley. We know Wimberley and Navarro, they play each other tough. And sometimes they play each other twice a season, pretty much in the playoffs. They play the regular season district game, and then they play. It's a really good matchup between them. Wimberley was ranked number 3 in week 1. Cuero beat them, or week 1 or 2. I'm not sure, but Cuero beat them 21-3. Cuero's for real this year. They're coming in undefeated. And I think this team is getting better every week. I like to be able to catch a Cuero game sometime during the season or in the playoffs if I get an opportunity to. I want to go see these guys play. Ever since they lost Jordan Whittington, they kind of went down. Then they're right back up. It didn't take them very long. So I think this team is going to be in the playoffs. We're going to see them in the playoffs. Hell, Rockport might even face them in the playoffs. We'll see what happens. But they're playing good football right now. I know Navarro is a good football team. Got a great program out there. They're good every year. And just because they got that loss early on in week 1 doesn't really define this team. These are 2 great programs. I think Navarro's been, better the last couple of years since Cuero won that state title a few years ago. But, they're back now, and they're playing some really tough teams, and they're winning, and they're scoring some points. And so, listen, I love Cuero. I love Navarro. I think they're both good programs. But I got to go with Cuero, man. I think these guys are going to continue to roll, and I think after Friday night, they're going to be the winners. So I'm going Cuero Gobblers to beat Navarro.
Steve, who do you got, Steve? Now we're talking
You
about a
ready for
Navarro
me?
team. We're talking about a Navarro team that almost beat Calhoun, and we just spoke highly about Calhoun a few games
Mhm.
ago,
Mhm.
with the kind of running attack that they have. And then we also talked about, when we broke that game down, how Navarro had everyone coming back. Everyone on that team came back. Uh,
Yeah.
for this season. So losing to Calhoun is I wouldn't call it a notable loss. I'd call it a great game played, because they only lost by a few points. Um, and then they beat Needville, and who did they beat? Who else did they
Lavernia.
beat? Lavernia. They beat Lavernia.
Mhm.
Lavernia has been a tough team in the past. Of course, both of these teams have played Lavernia and beat them by pretty good scores. Uh, Cuero did beat them by more points, but Cuero hasn't played. Cuero hasn't played a Calhoun team. Wimberley's good every year, but we really don't know what Wimberley got this year. Wimberley may not be the team that they've been the last few years. I mean, people got to graduate. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they graduated a bunch of players, and it's a rebuilding year for them. Who knows? I mean, I haven't looked too much into Wimberley, but we call it a notable win or call it luck. I don't know what you want to call it, but you know,
Hey, Steve, they were ranked
you
number
got
3 when Cuero beat them.
it's
Don't
all right.
forget
That's
that.
right.
They were ranked number 3. And let me tell you something. If the Cuero Gobblers play Calhoun, I'm not so sure Cuero could beat them.
You're not sure Cuero could beat Calhoun?
I'm not so sure that they couldn't beat Calhoun. I mean, we talk about
Oh,
Calhoun beat Navarro, right? And we talk about how good Navarro was. Hey, I think you put Calhoun and Cuero. I mean, Cuero's a smaller school. Well, no, they're not. They're a little smaller than Calhoun, like Wimberley. But I'm not so sure that if you put Calhoun next week against Cuero, that Cuero can't beat Calhoun.
well, I mean, we said the same thing about Navarro, but Navarro lost. I mean, we all agreed. I remember unanimously picked Navarro to win that game, and they didn't. So, I mean, we could say that all day long. You know what I'm saying? But you know, they're not playing each other.
But it was week 1. Listen, Steve, it was week 1. Listen, it was week 1, and we really didn't know a lot about the teams. And we know a lot. We know a lot more about them now. Listen, Cuero's been impressive. And who do you want them to play? They're playing who they want. They're beating teams. I mean, hey, listen, take your pick, but Cuero looks pretty dang good to me right now.
Steve, who do you got, Steve?
Man, I'm still trying to decide here, man.
This
Hey,
is a
who
good,
added
this is
this
gonna be a good
game
game.
this late? I thought it was another game. No, it was. That was last week. Shoot, man. You guys bring up a lot of valid points, man. And I feel like if I go one way or the other, you guys are gonna laugh and say, "Ha ha, I made you go that way." So I'm well, shit. Cuero's coming off a big win. Whether it's a paper win or not, beating Wimberley because nobody knows. I mean, the people who know, right? The people who make these ranking lists, they know what they got. Somebody's got to know what they're doing. Somebody had Wimberley at 3 in the state, and Cuero went in there and beat them. So, and then, quickly moved up the scales there. So, I mean, somebody's putting these guys in these ranking orders. So, man, you know what?
Steve,
I'm just going to go with Cuero.
Hey,
But
Steve, but
Cuero,
before you do that,
Cuero barely beat Yoakum last week.
Cuero's got wins. Cuero's 3-0, Steve. They got wins over a good Wimberley team, Lavernia, and they beat Yoakum last week.
Yoakum's 3A though.
Yeah.
Yoakum's 3A.
Yeah, but we all know
so they beat
all
it. They barely beat Yoakum. They barely beat Yoakum.
All the good players from Yoakum go play in Shiner.
28
so
to
we all know
12,
that.
baby. 28 to 12, Steve. Cuero beat Yoakum.
All the good players from Yoakum end up playing in Shiner. That's where them boys ended up at. They're over there at Shiner. Big Daddy, the kid from that show. So they're from Yoakum originally, and they all go to Shiner. I'm gonna go with Cuero, man.
Right. All right. Z-Man, who do you got? Do you want me to pick first? Do you want me to go first, or you want to go first, Z-Man?
I'm going to go with Cuero with the Gobblers, too.
There you go, buddy.
I think they're for real this year. I think they are for real. I think they're more powerful than what Navarro is this year.
That's it. That's all.
That's all I got. That's all I got. My damn phone ain't working.
All right, y'all. So let me go. Let me go. I was just trying to make it interesting because I think, and we all know how good Navarro is. We all know that. Navarro has given Rockport problems for many years. Navarro's gone 3-4 rounds deep in the playoffs the last 3, 4, 5 years. We know, and then they played a tough game in week 1 against Calhoun, but like you all, I am convinced that Cuero is going to win this game. Cuero, the last since they won state, they really haven't shined like they normally do in the state. But this year, I mean, they're really turning heads, and I think Cuero, this is a tough game to pick. This is really a tough game to pick. These are two teams that Rockport may very well see later on in the postseason. So I'm real interested to see what the outcome is. I'll say that. But I think Cuero gets the game in week 4. I think Cuero gets this game in week 4. Navarro plays better in the postseason or later on in the season. They normally lose to Wimberley and then beat Wimberley later on in the postseason. So we'll see what happens. I think Cuero's gonna win. It's gonna be a
And
good
this
game, close game.
and the game's going to be played in Navarro, if you guys didn't know. So I don't know if that'll sway any of your your predictions, but they are playing in Navarro. But I'm going to stick with the Cuero Gobblers.
Hey, who's to say that Navarro's not on that same backslide that you're claiming the Wimberley to be on? You know, you're disqualifying that win from Cuero over a team that could be on the backslide. If Navarro and it's been Navarro and Wimberley all these years, who's to say they're not both on backslides? And time for that new blood, time for Rockport Flyers and Cuero and all these other guys to start, get past that third round. So maybe it's our time.
We talked about them having everyone come back this year from last season. So that's why I don't suspect that they're on a downward slide, just because of talking about that. They got all the returners coming back. So that's I don't know if that's the case over there in Navarro. So
Listen, guys, but here's the deal. Some of these teams have gotten better. I mean, look, to come out of the region, Rockport's a threat. Sitton's a threat if everybody's healthy. Cuero's a threat. Wimberley's a threat. Navarro's a threat. You've got Navasota. Hey, there's some teams out. This playoff run is going to be really good. But the first round, but once you get to that second round and beyond, boy, it's going to get really good in this district. Let me tell you, in this region, because there are some good teams out there. Yeah. So, but I just think Cuero got better. I don't think Navarro necessarily isn't good or Wimberley. I just think Cuero's good. Got some good coaches. I got a buddy that's a family friend that just moved from Odom, I think, over to Cuero. And he's my friend on Facebook. He's a coach out there, and I see some of his posting. Cuero's for real, man. I mean, they've got some players out there, and look, in three games, they played Yoakum, they played Wimberley. These are tough teams. They've had no easy road early on in the season, and they've come up victorious in all these games. So, the Wimberley game and the Yoakum game for Cuero has prepared for week 4 against Navarro. They're not going to see anything in Navarro that they didn't see against a good Wimberley team and a good Yoakum team. They've seen speed. They've seen that they can pass, because Wimberley can pass, or at least they have in the past, and they've got speed and they got a good defense. Yoakum has speed and they can pass. So, this is going to prepare, I think, Cuero in week 4 to play a Navarro team that they've already beaten two teams kind of like Navarro in Wimberley and Yoakum. So that's why I picked Cuero as well. So, that concludes, am I correct, Tony? That concludes the schedule. So once again, that was preview week number 4. We took a little longer, but it was a good debate. I don't like to just pick and then be done. I like to have conversation in these games. And in week 4 preview, we definitely, got it going, and we've been talking and we've been debating some of these teams, and we've been trying to sway each other on a prediction, on a vote here and there. And I like that. I like that we do that. I know it goes a little longer, but it makes for good podcasting, I think. So, guys, thank you very much. I do want to say that our game of the week is the Taft Greyhounds. It's the Kenedy Lions traveling to Taft to play the Greyhounds this Friday. The Gridiron 64 for the first time this season will be live streaming the game in Taft. We should get there kind of early, and we will go live at 7:10. Now, it's the Gridiron crew, the Gridiron 64 crew, that will be there, but it will not be live streamed on the Gridiron 64 Facebook page. You have to go to the GT Sports Facebook page. That's where it'll go live. So it's the Gridiron 64 crew that will be in Taft. But to catch the game, if you don't make it to the Taft game, you can catch it. We'll live stream it on GT Sports. It's the Facebook page, GT Sports. Go to GT Sports on your Facebook page, and you'll catch the game between the Kenedy Lions and the Taft Greyhounds. We go live at 7:10. We watch the game, and we'll watch the halftime show, and we'll see what happens. So the Gridiron 64 crew will be in Taft once again. We'll live stream the game on GT Sports this Friday. at 7:10. I'll pass it over and give my crew the last word. Tony, I'll go to you first, man. This is great podcasting. Thank you for leading the way for us in week 4. Anything you want to add before we call it a night?
No, I just want to say good luck to all the teams out there. Again, I know that there's still teams out there battling COVID, and I haven't heard of any major injuries. So I just want to, you know, just hope for injury-free football, and you know, just asking for the community and the players to, just do what you got to do to be healthy. Don't get caught up in doing things that are going to keep you off the football field. Uh, and then to all the fans out there, to all the teams that are playing, go out there and support your teams. Those boys work hard, and we talked about that earlier in the preseason about how hard these boys work. I mean, they don't just start in week 1 practicing. I mean, this starts all summer long. So these boys work hard to go put a show on and represent their towns and their schools that they're playing for. So go out there and support them. And that's what we're trying to do on the Gridiron is really trying to shine some light on how hard those boys are working to really represent their towns and schools.
Absolutely. And before I go to the Z, man, I want to add, we put the polls up. So the teams that are on the Gridiron 64, the 8 teams from the Coastal Bend area, including the game of the week and then the state game, when we pick them and we finalize it, then I go on to the Gridiron 64 and we put polls up. That'll be every week. So the 9 games will be up there. You got Cuero and you've got Navarro. We put the polls up. All the teams, the 9 teams that are going to be on the schedule, the Gridiron, go to the Gridiron 64 by Monday. I try to get it on by Monday or Tuesday. We put the polls up there. So, go in there and just vote. If you want to leave a comment, you can, but vote for your team or vote for the team that you think will win the game. We keep track of that. I can tell you that Ingleside, before we came on the podcast, they're playing Gonzales, and they have 58 people voting on that team. So just want to send a shout out to the Ingleside Mustang fans. Thank you guys for following the Gridiron 64. And can't promise you that Ingleside will be on the schedule every week, but we make our picks. We look at the teams. We put it out there, and then the majority wins. So just want to send a shout-out to Ingleside for following the Gridiron 64 and voting for their team this week against Gonzales. We had 58. It's probably higher now. So just be looking out for those polls. That'll be all throughout the season, all throughout the playoffs until the final games are played in Dallas at AT&T Stadium. Johnny, I'll go to you next. Anything that you want to add?
Go Cherokees. Go Cherokees.
Hey, I wanted to.
Good luck to the Kenedy Lions, Bubba. Good luck to the Kenedy Lions. They're going to take this one easily.
Hey, I wanted to add. I forgot. I was going to ask you something. If we were missing anything that you usually add on the Gridiron. I know that on the Pirates Code, we're going to have the district teams. We're going to be talking everything. Is there anything that we're missing that you do on the Gridiron that we haven't done yet? Anything you can remember? I was going to ask you a question and it just completely went blank.
Not top of my head, no.
Okay. Steve, I'll give you the final word. Anything you want to add?
Hey, I just want to give a shout out to all of Gabriel's family. We're coming down there to see y'all this Friday. Tia, por favor, unas tamales for the game or something like that. Something that, to feed us, you know what I'm saying? Maybe Gabriel, you can hook that up. Gabriel, some tamales, sneak them in, you know what I'm saying, so we can have something to munch on. But I'm excited about going to Taft this week. I think it's going to be a great game. And, excited about spreading Gridiron 64, reaching out to different programs. So I'm excited about branching out, man. So look for us. Come holler at me. Maybe we'll bring some swag out there and throw out to the crowd. So we'll be looking forward to it, man. You guys come out.
Hey, listen, we can get there early. I'll tell you, there's a place down there in Taft. It's still open, man. As a boy down there, my mom used to take me down there to a place called Dairy King, not Dairy Queen, Dairy King. It was out there. I was a boy down there, man. We'd walk down there. My mom would take me down there. Some of the best burgers I've ever had. I was down there about a year ago, passing by me and my mom, and we're going to Sinton, and we stopped out there and we ate it. So, hey, listen, we get there early, Steve, man. I'll take you down there and treat you to some burgers or something. They've got some seafood down there. It's a place called Dairy King, not Dairy Queen, but Dairy King. You can only catch it in Taft. Yeah. There's nowhere else, man. So maybe get out early and get down to Taft early and have a little a meal and then head out to the game. My treat, man. So listen, it's going to be great against the Gridiron 64. We'll be in Taft, live streaming the game on GT Sports this Friday. Be looking out for us. If you can't make the game, you can watch it on live stream on Facebook, via Facebook, and we go live at 7:10. So I'm excited about going down there and, like Steve said, branching out and just be looking out for the polls, guys. We're going to be doing that every week. Not only do we put out on the Gridiron 64 the high school games, but we also put out the Texas A&M game, the Texas Longhorn game, and then of course we put out all the NFL games that are played on Sunday. So got a lot. If you're a football fan, look out for the Gridiron 64 on Monday. We put all these polls out there. Join in. Let us know what you think about your team. Leave a comment. And if you want to come on and be a guest, man, just email me at gtsports64@hotmail.com. gtsports64@hotmail.com. You don't have to be a member, but if you just want to come on one week and talk football, whether it be high school football or the NFL, let me know, man. We'd love to have guests come on out and just talk football with the Gridiron 64 crew. So until next week, guys, thank you very much. I know it was a little longer, but it was great conversation. It makes for good podcasting. I really appreciate it. We will be back tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock. We'll be breaking down, of course, on the Pirates Cove, the Rockport Pirates versus the TM game that was played this Friday. And then Johnny will break down other teams in the district, let you know what they're doing. And then he'll go into the region a little bit and talk about potentially some of the teams that our district could be facing in the first or second round. So tune in tomorrow at 7 o'clock as we go live on the Pirates Cove to break down the Rockport Tuloso-Midway Warrior game played this past Friday. So until then, guys, peace out. Have a good night. And I'll see you guys tomorrow evening at 7.
Sounds good. See you then,
fellas.